Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In Genoa City, where secrets, power plays, and betrayals are the currency that fuels every relationship and rivalry, nothing is ever as it seems, and in this shocking twist, the audience is thrown headfirst into one of the most jaw-dropping arcs in recent Young and the Restless history as Kane Ashby, a man long struggling with his identity, past sins, and his desperate attempts to reclaim relevance, finds himself entangled with a shadowy mystery man whose sudden arrival in town sets into motion a chain of events that will rock the Newman Empire and Genoa City itself, because this enigmatic stranger, whose name alone sends shockwaves when it is finally revealed, doesn't just have a vendetta. He has the kind of dangerous, calculated agenda that makes Victor Newman himself look vulnerable for the first time in decades. And that is no small feat given Victor's notorious reputation as the all-seeing, all-powerful patriarch who has always managed to outmaneuver his enemies. But the plot begins quietly enough with Kane, already feeling cornered and isolated after years of mistakes, estrangements, and half-hearted comebacks, when he's approached by this man in a dimly lit bar just outside Genoa City, where whispers of opportunity and revenge float in the air, and Kane, still stung by how Victor has dismissed him and minimized his worth, finds himself seduced by the promise of finally turning the tables on the great Victor Newman, not realizing that the mystery man's motivations go far deeper than any simple business rivalry or thirst for money, because this is personal, blood deep, and tied to a history that Victor has spent decades trying to bury. The scheme escalates as Kane and the mystery man orchestrate a daring and elaborate kidnapping plot that sees Victor snatched in broad daylight from outside Newman Enterprises, leaving Genoa City stunned, his family scrambling, and his enemies both horrified and quietly intrigued. Because with Victor out of the picture, even temporarily, the balance of power in town shifts wildly, creating new openings, new alliances, and new dangers. But the real heart of the storyline lies in the psychological warfare that plays out in the shadowy hideout where Victor is held, because Victor Newman is not a man easily broken, and his captors soon realize that kidnapping him physically is one thing, but breaking his iron will is another, leading to chilling exchanges where Victor taunts Kane for being a pawn, ridicules the mystery man's vendetta without even knowing his name, and promises vengeance so brutal that it sends chills down even Kane's spine. Yet the mystery man remains steadfast, his identity concealed from Victor and the audience alike until the exact right moment, when in a climactic confrontation as Victor sneers, demanding to know who dares to take him on so boldly, the mystery man steps into the light and declares his name, a name that ties directly to Victor's past, perhaps the long-presumed dead child of one of Victor's old enemies, or even more shocking, a son Victor never acknowledged, abandoned, or didn't even know existed, instantly reframing everything we've seen and plunging the Newman family into chaos as they grapple not only with rescuing Victor but with the revelation that their patriarch's past sins have literally come back to haunt them in flesh and blood, while Kane, caught in the middle, begins to realize he may have aligned himself with someone far more dangerous than he anticipated, and the fallout promises to ripple through every corner of Genoa City, setting up confrontations with Nick, Victoria, and Adam, each of whom will be forced to decide how far they're willing to go to save their father, and whether exposing the truth about this mystery man will cost them everything, while Kane must reckon with whether this desperate act marks the end of his redemption arc forever, branding him as a villain beyond forgiveness, or whether he can somehow salvage himself by turning on his co-conspirator. But either way, the shocking revelation of the mystery man's name ensures that nothing in Genoa City will ever be the same again. And as the storyline stretches across weeks and months, the tension escalates with failed rescue attempts, internal family betrayals as Adam sees opportunity in Victor's weakness, Jack Abbott weighs whether to help his old rival or exploit the chaos, and Jill worries that Kane has destroyed any chance of reclaiming his life. And with each episode, the psychological chess game between Victor and his captor deepens, as Victor tries to manipulate Kane against the mystery man, while the stranger attempts to convince Kane that Victor's downfall is the key to his own salvation, culminating in a high-stakes showdown that leaves viewers gasping, because when the name is revealed, whether it's a Newman heir nobody knew existed, the long-lost child of Victor's most bitter enemy, or someone with a generational grudge that redefines the Newman dynasty's history, it doesn't just change the trajectory of Victor's legacy, it reshapes the very fabric of Genoa City, proving once again why the Young and the Restless remains the master of daytime drama, forever capable of surprising its audience with stories that blend family, betrayal, legacy, and the inescapable truth that no secret stays buried forever. As the dust settles from the shocking abduction, Genoa City is plunged into hysteria, with the Newman clan rallying to figure out who could possibly be bold or foolish enough to kidnap Victor Newman, a man whose reputation for vengeance has destroyed countless enemies. And while Nikki frantically tries to hold the family together, desperate to keep her sobriety in check as she grapples with fear for her husband, Nick takes charge in trying to coordinate with the police, though his instincts tell him that this crime isn't about ransom but something far more personal, while Victoria, ever her father's daughter, begins piecing together recent events and suspects Kane may be involved, given his recent shady behavior and history of falling into morally gray schemes. Yet Adam, always the wild card, sees Victor's kidnapping as both a crisis and an opportunity, torn between proving himself as a loyal son by rescuing his father or seizing the chaos to elevate himself at Newman Enterprises. And Jack Abbott, when he learns of Victor's disappearance, wrestles
with conflicting emotions, remembering decades of rivalry but also knowing that an attack this personal crosses a line. And while Jill fears that Kane has once again destroyed his life by aligning himself with darkness, she doesn't yet realize the scope of what's unfolding, because Kane himself is unraveling as the mystery man grows more dangerous and unpredictable by the hour, his obsession with Victor becoming chillingly clear as he delivers cryptic monologues about revenge, legacy, and justice denied, all while tormenting Victor in captivity, where Victor refuses to break, instead unleashing his own psychological warfare, mocking Kane as a follower, deriding the mystery man as a coward who hides in shadows, and planting seeds of mistrust between them. But as the storyline builds, the audience finally learns the backstory, that the mystery man is tied to Victor's past in a way so shocking it reframes decades of Newman history, perhaps the illegitimate son of Victor from an affair he buried and denied, or the vengeful child of an old foe like Hope or even Julia, someone who grew up resenting Victor's power, wealth, and the abandonment that defined his life, and now, returned under a new identity, he is ready to rip away everything Victor holds dear. And this revelation doesn't just shatter Victor, it devastates Nikki, horrifies Nick, and infuriates Victoria, who feels betrayed all over again by her father's past choices, while Adam, sensing his place in the Newman family tree is even more precarious, wrestles with whether to align himself with the stranger or destroy him, and as the town buzzes with rumors, Abby demanding answers, Phyllis and Sharon inserting themselves into the drama for their own agendas, and Chance torn between duty as a cop and loyalty to family, the storyline spirals into a citywide crisis where everyone's alliances shift daily, with Kane caught in the middle, realizing that he may be little more than a pawn in a game that could leave him destroyed, and yet, desperate to salvage himself, he contemplates betraying the mystery man by helping Victor escape, though Victor himself plays on this conflict, whispering promises of redemption one moment and threats of ruin the next, and through it all, the shadow of Newman Enterprises looms, as the company begins to crumble in Victor's absence, board members scheming, shareholders panicking, and rivals circling like sharks, forcing Victoria and Adam into an uneasy alliance even as their sibling rivalry threatens to implode at any second, while Nikki reaches her breaking point, slipping dangerously close to relapse as memories of past traumas resurface. But it is the final act of the arc that delivers the ultimate bombshell, when the mystery man finally reveals his true identity not just to Victor but to the world, stepping into the Newman boardroom with Victor's blood still figuratively on his hands, and uttering his name, a name that ties directly into Newman history in a way nobody saw coming. Perhaps Dylan, long thought gone, returned under a new identity after years of resentment, or even the shocking twist that this man is Victor's secret son born decades ago and hidden away, now determined to claim his rightful place. And as this revelation detonates across Genoa City, the fallout is cataclysmic, the Newman children questioning everything they thought they knew, Nikki forced to confront whether she can forgive Victor for another buried secret, Jack seeing an opportunity to finally weaken Newman power, Jill devastated by Kane's choices, and Kane himself, realizing he has tethered his fate to a man who may actually succeed in dethroning Victor, standing at the edge of redemption or permanent ruin, while Victor, though momentarily shaken, begins plotting his inevitable comeback, because if history has taught us anything, it's that Victor Newman always survives, always outsmarts, and always exacts revenge, ensuring that this shocking storyline not only rewrites the Newman legacy but sets the stage for years of drama, betrayal, and battles yet to come, proving once more why the young and the restless reigns supreme as the master of soap opera shocks where the past never dies, secrets always return, and no dynasty is ever safe from destruction. The nightmare only deepens after Victor's abduction, because while Kane and the mystery man believe they have the upper hand, what they fail to realize is that Victor Newman has survived worse than chains and locked doors, and though physically confined, he's already strategizing, playing Kane's conscience against the stranger's fury, subtly manipulating his captors to turn on one another while outside. Genoa City devolves into absolute chaos, with Nikki's sanity fraying as she relives past traumas of losing Victor, her sobriety on the line, her shaking hands clutching a glass she dares not drink from, and Nick stepping up with the determination to hold the family together as he becomes the anchor his siblings desperately need, though Victoria's icy anger and Adam's unpredictable ambition make every family meeting a battle, especially as Adam quietly whispers that maybe this new arrival, this man with Newman blood or ties to Victor's deepest betrayals, might not be entirely wrong in wanting revenge. And while the Newman kids war with each other, Abby frantically pushes Chance to break protocol and use every resource, legal or not, to track Victor down, only for Chance to face a brutal conflict between law and loyalty, because officially the case is tied up in red tape while unofficially, he knows Kane's scent is all over this, and Jill, discovering Kane's involvement, nearly collapses with grief that her son has once again fallen into disgrace, calling upon Billy and Lily to intervene, dragging them into the Newman orbit in ways none of them want, while across town, Jack Abbott wrestles with morality and opportunity, remembering decades of being crushed under Victor's thumb, knowing this abduction destabilizes Newman Enterprises in ways he could exploit, yet also understanding that this new player, this mystery man, is so ruthless that letting him win could make Genoa City unrecognizable, and in the safe house where Victor is held, the psychological games grow darker, with Victor refusing to flinch as his captor reveals piece by piece his motive, recounting stories from the past, painting Victor as a monster who destroyed lives, and Kane, listening, begins to question whether he is truly aiding justice or has just chained himself to a devil far worse than Victor himself, and the longer Kane spends in that room, the more haunted he becomes, Victor's words echoing that he's a follower, a man without identity, a pawn in every scheme, until Kane starts wondering if betraying the mystery man might be his last shot at redemption, but then comes the moment that detonates Genoa City, when the mystery man finally steps into the light, drops the disguise, and utters his name, one that rattles the walls of Newman history, a name tied directly to Victor's bloodline or his darkest rival, a name that makes Nikki stagger back in horror, makes Victoria seethe with rage, makes Adam smirk with recognition, makes Nick whisper in disbelief, and shakes Victor to his very core, because suddenly the family must face that Victor's sins have manifested in flesh and blood, standing before them with the power to obliterate everything they hold dear, and from this revelation, the fallout spreads like wildfire, boardroom coups at Newman Enterprises, with shareholders panicking and allies defecting, Victoria scrambling to secure control, Adam playing both sides as always, Nick urging unity, and Abby breaking down over the possibility that the Newman name may never recover, while in the shadows, Phyllis schemes to weaponize the chaos for her own advantage. Sharon slips in as Nick's emotional anchor but also questions if Victor's iron grip on his family was ever healthy, and Jack contemplates alliances that would have been unthinkable before, and meanwhile Kane's torment reaches its peak as he's forced to choose between loyalty to a man bent on destruction and the faint hope of redemption by saving Victor. And in one explosive climax, the rescue attempt turns bloody, alliances crumble, and yet Victor, though rattled, rises from captivity with fire in his eyes, ready to reclaim his empire and crush anyone who dared touch him, declaring in his steely growl that no one kidnaps Victor Newman without paying in blood, setting the stage for the revenge arc, where Victor systematically dismantles his enemies, first targeting the stranger with a relentless campaign of psychological and financial warfare, then turning to Kane with a chilling ultimatum: redeem yourself by helping Victor destroy this newfound enemy, or be destroyed alongside him, leaving Kane torn between betraying the only ally who ever made him feel powerful or surrendering to Victor's ruthless demands, while the Newman family fractures further, with Nikki teetering on relapse, Victoria lashing out at Adam, Adam plotting with the stranger in whispers, Nick desperate to save his family from itself, and Jack watching, waiting, knowing that every crack in the Newman dynasty is a crack he can exploit, and as weeks turn into months, the saga twists deeper, with shocking betrayals, unexpected alliances, and devastating consequences, all orbiting around the single undeniable truth: Victor Newman may have been kidnapped, humiliated, and forced to face ghosts of his past, but he is not defeated, and his revenge will reshape Genoa City forever, proving once again that in the world of the young and the restless, no dynasty is untouchable, no secret stays buried, and no enemy is more dangerous than the man they call Victor Newman. The storm that begins with Kane and the mystery man kidnapping Victor only grows more ferocious with each passing day, transforming from a single shocking crime into a sweeping saga that engulfs every household, every rival, and every secret in Genoa City, because as Victor sits bound in captivity, refusing to break under the taunts of his captors, the outside world spirals into paranoia, suspicion, and betrayal. With Nikki collapsing under the unbearable weight of watching her family unravel, her shaking hands reaching for a drink she knows could ruin her but tempted all the same, while Nick, determined to be the steady force, finds himself overwhelmed as Victoria and Adam battle viciously over the future of Newman Enterprises, their arguments so explosive that board members begin leaking to the press, and Abby, consumed with grief, pleads with Chance to throw away the rulebook and find her father at any cost, putting his career as a lawman on the line, while Jack Abbott stares across town at the unfolding disaster, torn between pity for his lifelong rival and the tantalizing chance to finally see the Newman Empire collapse from within, though Jill, in shock at Kane's betrayal, phones every contact she has, desperate to intervene, while Lily refuses to believe Kane could fall so low again, setting up her own tragic journey to discover just how far Kane has fallen, but at the center of it all lies the mystery man, whose identity, though hidden, hangs like a guillotine over every Newman, his presence infecting their dreams, his voice echoing in their boardrooms, his obsession with revenge tightening its grip on Kane, who starts to see visions of his past mistakes and wonders if perhaps Victor was right, if he is doomed to be a pawn in every game, a shadow man without a legacy of his own, while Victor, cool and calculating even in chains, exploits every crack between Kane and his partner, whispering promises of redemption to Kane while simultaneously breaking down the stranger with mocking reminders of his insignificance, until finally, in a moment staged for maximum devastation, the mystery man rips away his disguise and utters his true name, one so intertwined with Victor's past that it detonates every illusion the Newman family has ever had of security, a name that may reveal him as Victor's illegitimate son born of an affair, long denied and abandoned, or perhaps the secret child of an enemy Victor destroyed, someone raised in the shadows with one mission, to take down Victor Newman and everything he loves, and when the truth is out, Genoa City doesn't just tremble, it convulses, as Nikki feels the betrayal like a dagger, Nick reels in disbelief, Victoria's fury boils over into vengeance, Adam smirks as though he always suspected Victor's sins would catch up, and Abby screams that the family may never recover, while Jack nearly chokes on the irony that Victor's empire is being undone not by corporate war but by family secrets, and from here, the saga explodes outward, the mystery man walking into Newman Enterprises like a conqueror, claiming his right as blood or heir to Newman fortune, shareholders dividing, board members whispering that perhaps this new face has the legitimacy and rage to replace Victor, and Adam, ever the schemer, flirting with an alliance while Victoria sharpens her claws to protect her throne, Nick begging them to stand together, Nikki on the verge of collapse, Kane spiraling deeper into despair as he realizes the devil he's partnered with may consume him whole, and yet the longer this war rages, the more it becomes clear that Victor, though humiliated, has not been defeated, because the moment he is freed, through betrayal, through escape, through sheer force of will, he begins plotting his revenge in a way only Victor Newman can, systematically dismantling his captor, turning allies into traitors, sowing paranoia until the mystery man starts seeing enemies in every shadow, and as Victor rebuilds himself, his family, and his company, he also turns his focus to Kane, issuing the most chilling ultimatum of all: help me destroy the man you chose over me, or be buried with him, forcing Kane to choose between clinging to his last shred of honor or being forever branded as Victor's enemy. And while this war rages, Genoa City itself becomes a battlefield, Jill trying desperately to pull Kane back, Lily begging him to make the right choice, Billy finding himself pulled into Newman orbit once again, Phyllis and Sharon scheming on the sidelines, Abby fighting to hold Chance while he risks everything for justice, Jack seizing cracks in Newman power to strengthen Jabot, and Adam, ever unpredictable, holding the key to whether the Newmans survive as a dynasty or collapse under the weight of their own sins, and as months pass, betrayals pile up, shocking deaths and near-deaths rattle the town, and yet, through it all, one truth reigns supreme: Victor Newman may be kidnapped, beaten, betrayed, humiliated, but he will never be destroyed, because he is not just a man, he is a force of nature, and by the time his revenge reaches its zenith, when he stands in the Newman boardroom with his enemy broken at his feet, Kane begging for forgiveness, and his family once again united through fire, he will remind them all with steel in his voice and fire in his eyes that Victor Newman always wins, no matter the cost, no matter the secret, no matter the betrayal, and in the end, the saga of the Mystery Man and Kane's betrayal will not be remembered as the moment Victor fell, it will be remembered as the moment he rose again, stronger, darker, and more dangerous than ever, reshaping Genoa City forever and proving why The Young and the Restless is the ultimate soap where secrets breed wars, blood ties breed enemies, and legacies are written not in love but in power, betrayal, and revenge.